I know. My Christmas tree is still up. I should be taking it down. I'm going to. I'm taking it down. I'm taking it down in a minute. Just check my mic is still on. But first, I'm having a little lunch, and I'm having leftover chicken broccoli casserole. It is so good, and I want you to make it. I want you to make it. So, for the real recipe, go over to Carolyn at All Day I Dream About Food. That's where I got this from. So I'm going to show you my version of her recipe. At this point, it probably varies a little bit, but it's super simple. So here we go. You're going to start off with a good size skillet that has a lid on it. You see what mine looks like here. You're going to need that. You need that lid. If you don't have one like this, then use a saucepan that can hold a couple of cups of broccoli, basically. So, but don't start with the broccoli. You're going to start by putting in a little lard or tallow or olive oil with butter and throw in a half cup of chopped onion. Stir that around until the onion's translucent. While that is cooking, get out your broccoli and cut it into little florets. Uh, I don't really measure it, a few handfuls. You know how much you want to eat. Um, I'm sure go to Carolyn's site for all of the measurements. Once your onion is all nice and soft, you're going to put your broccoli right in there with it. You can give it a stir, but it's not going to soften up very well unless you give it some help. So what I do is take some water. This is all over like medium heat, medium high heat. I'll throw, I don't know how much, a half cup of water in there, maybe a third cup to a half cup of water into the hot pan, and then put the lid on, and that steams the broccoli. So now while that's steaming, you get yourself your casserole dish. I butter it. I don't know that that's necessary. It still sticks. And I kind of like the crusty, sticky parts, but I butter it anyway. That's probably optional. And I put in the cooked chicken, and I almost always begin with, here's the lazy shortcut, rotisserie chicken already broken down. You know how your grocery store sells those rotisserie chickens? Well, I think what they do is whatever doesn't sell, they break it down and put them in these little blister packs. It's almost all white meat chicken. But I will go through it and get all my favorite parts. Make sure there are no noses going in. If there's a little stray piece of tough skin area, I'll toss that. It's not really skin, but it's where maybe a piece on the outside burnt up a little bit. Doesn't happen very often. That I'm left with almost dust at the bottom, which is when I'm reminded that my sainted father would never touch the white meat. And he was right. I'm sure the dark meat is better. And if you prefer dark meat, do this with the thigh meat. Okay, I'm sure it's better for us. So the chicken is now all by itself in the casserole dish. Turn around. That broccoli is going to be nice and steamed. If it's not soft enough, put in a little more water, a little more time. That's all you need. And dump the broccoli on top of the chicken. Give it a stir. Seasoning. I just use my all-purpose seasoning, my new favorite all-purpose seasoning, Everglade, which might only be sold in Florida. I, I can't tell you how good this is. Like it just, for anything that doesn't need like an Italian flavor, or some particular flavor, just nice balanced seasoning, Everglade is it for me. So I just sprinkle that across the top, and you'll see it's all going to get mixed up in a minute. The last bit is the cheese sauce, and you've got to get prepared for this. So measure out a cup and a half of shredded cheese. I use I use half mozzarella and half shredded parm. So 3/4 cup shredded mozzarella, 3/4 cup shredded parm. It doesn't matter that much, but you want something that's going to be salty and flavorful and gooey. So that's why I use those. Or maybe Carolyn told me to, I'm not sure. Have that measured and ready in its own measuring cup or in a bowl. And then measure out 1.5 cups of heavy cream. I know it's a lot because heavy cream is expensive. It is so worth it though for this. It is so worth it. Okay, and now mince up a little garlic. I just use fresh garlic. I used to, when we had kids at home and I felt like doing real cooking, would use the garlic that is sold already minced in oil. Come to think of it, I haven't looked back to see what that oil is. Is that olive oil? I sure hope. I'll bet it is. For garlic, I'll bet it is. Anyway, back to that that same pan that you use for the onion or broccoli, you maybe throw in a little bit of oil, olive oil, throw in that minced garlic, and as soon as it becomes fragrant, don't let it go too long. You don't want to burn it. Pour in all that cream and wait for the cream to get nice and bubbly. Like not too much. It's just you want it to be evenly hot throughout, and you'll see it begin. Don't worry if you can see a stray onion bit floating or the garlic or a little bit of the olive oil is floating to the top. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Uh, but when it gets hot right through, dump in all your cheese at once. Take yourself, take your wooden spoon, take your wooden spoon and just stir it. You just really want all the cheese melted and maybe go a little bit beyond that. You don't want it too thin, you don't want it too thick, because what you're going to do now, you guessed it, you're going to pour it over your chicken and broccoli. Get every last bit over your chicken and broccoli. Now, if you do this and disaster, you got distracted and you let it go too long and it's not quite moistening all of your chicken. You know, the kids don't like that word, right? Moist. Just throw in a little extra cream. Don't have the cream, milk, water even, it doesn't matter, right? Just throw in a little extra so that it's not soupy, but so that everything is coated with a little bit of that delicious sauce. Sprinkle some shredded Parm on top, pop it in the oven. The oven is preheated to 375, and it's going to take 25 minutes or more. I want it to get a nice golden brown crust on the top. Now listen, you could make the same recipe and not make a casserole, right? You could have your chicken, you could steam your broccoli, put those both separately on a plate and just pour this cheese sauce over the top and be done, right? You could do that. But I'm not in a rush, and I like that little crispy bit on top. You may finish it under the broiler if you need to. It is the perfect meal to dig into. It's the perfect dinner for cold and windy times such as these, right? It's January right now. In the cold weather, this is my Thursday meal. If you want more of my meals, I've got like 1 week of recipes. If anybody's interested, my version of 1 week of clean low carb recipes, there's a link in the description below. Thank you for spending time with me today. Let's all stay strong, wise, kind, and good by choosing good food for good health. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next.